Sistine Chapel Thursday morning. The Federal Reserve announcing keeping their key interest rate unchanged.
The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell's central bank's decision leaves the benchmark's federal funds rate at a range of 4.25% to 4.5%. America is listening to Fox News.
Your 710 KURV AccuWeather forecast. Warm and humid this evening. Partly cloudy skies, followed by areas of low clouds. A low of 73 to 77. Winds from the north-northeast at 7 to 14 miles per hour. Sun and clouds for tomorrow with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, mainly later. It'll be humid tomorrow with a high of 87. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy. Couple of showers and a thunderstorm. The low 72. Friday, sunny, pleasant, less humid. A nice end of the week. The high 84. I'm AccuWeather's Drew Shannon on the Valley's official weather station, 710 KURV.
The Rio Grande Valley's news, weather, and talk station. News Talk 710 KURV and KURV.com.
News Talk 710 KURV.
Zach Cantu and the living legend Davis Rankin on your 956 drive home. Joining us now on 710 KURV is Ildefonso Poncho Ortiz from Breitbart, Texas. It was a story from CNN a few days ago as they went into Mexico. And they showed, they actually showed a cartel member, an alleged cartel member. And I thought that was fascinating. But he didn't say much. And what he said tipped off Poncho to a few things about the CNN story in the first place. So he joins us now to talk a little bit about that. So let's first just kind of encapsulate what their segment on CNN had to present to us.
Hey, Zach. Hey, David. Thanks for having me. So pretty much they travel, they did the whole, we're deep in Mexico meeting in secret with this guy from, some dude with a mask that claimed to be a cartel member with the Sinaloa cartel. And pretty much, the lady, Isabel Young, is a CNN reporter, basically was like, Trump calls you a terrorist. What do you have to say about that? I mean, pretty much they were trying to humanize this scumbag of a human being that was not even a human being, but a cartel member. And they were trying to present him as a victim of Trump's hate, basically. So that's what sort of ticked off a lot of people.
The way he said it, too, it made it sound like, it's almost like the opportunities here are so bad. We're kind of forced to be cartel members.
Well, yeah. And, one of the things is that, when CNN and other news outlets do these sort of, reports, they're not really in danger when they go into these cartel territories. I mean, the way it works is they actually go through a press office. The Sinaloa cartel has a press office. You contact them through what CNN gets a fixer. The fixer contacts us through the press office, and they set up these interviews. And they hype it up for the reporter. They wear a mask and all this other stuff. But this individual actually has talking points that he's approved to say in front of the camera. So while the rest of the world thinks that, oh my God, these brave journalists are over here talking to these individuals. No, I mean, it's literally a PR campaign that the Sinaloa cartel has. I mean, if, they haven't been able to do something similar, say, with the Gulf cartel, Los Zetas, or somebody like that. Why? Because they would chop their head off. I mean, they don't play those games.
I think it's interesting that over the years we've discovered that they have, a PR department, an IT department, right? they have all this stuff behind this. They're very sophisticated.
They don't have an IT department.
I think, was it you that we were joking with, Poncho, where I was like, I want to see the guy that works the ledger, like the accountant for the cartel. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And there are ledgers, when they've caught top bosses, they have very intricate ledgers that list, all the money that goes out to multiple departments, and they spend a lot of money in keeping their organization running. So they're very detailed and meticulous on this.
Wow. I pictured this lady as a secretary named Janine, behind the scenes helping them. Anyway, Ildefonso Poncho Ortiz from Breitbart, Texas, joining us on 710 KURV. The one thing that I will point out in the CNN interview is that when they're being carted around by the Mexican military, and they show up to that big city sign that has all the posters of the missing people, and they said, "Well, we don't know that those are valid." And she says, "What do you mean they're not valid? They're right there." He says, "Well, we don't know if those are true or not." So they grab one of the posters and they call the number, and sure enough, the person in question had been missing for like 2 weeks or so.
Yes, and you know what, Mexican army. I mean, they have to hide the reality. I mean, even right now, I mean, there was a shootout in Sinaloa last night. There were four innocent girls that were shot in one of the shootouts. I mean, it was a big old clash between rivals, and they went at it and so forth. But they hit bystanders. Government officials are out there saying things are great, no pasa nada, come party. Kind of like what they tell us in Reynosa when things are great, no pasa nada. It's the same exact message. So the Mexican government has to claim that things are great, that nothing is happening. That's just their strategies. Same thing as like Claudia Sheinbaum and her police chief, Omar Garcia Harfuch, are claiming that they're fighting drug cartels and making all these seizures. They're not really. They're just staging things and making it seem like they're doing the job. Because, I mean, they have an image to keep. They have to kind of try to appease the Trump administration to avoid tariffs and so forth. So Mexico's government is outright lying about the reality of things in Mexico, the levels of violence, the numbers of people that are missing. Because we have to remember, if a person is missing, they're not going to make an effort to find them, because if there's no body, that means there's no crime. So I can hide I can play with my stats. So since the Sinaloa cartel turf war started, late last summer, they say we've only had so many murders, but they're not wanting to count the number of disappearances that they've had because of all the people that have been taken and executed. And that's the reality that, they sort of wanted to show, but the army was like, no, that's not what's happening. So
It's interesting, too, that they say that we don't know that those are valid, which means there's nobody checking them. Like there's nobody looking at them.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that
They
was
give it
also
away.
very telling. Ildefonso Poncho Ortiz from Breitbart, Texas, joining us on 710 KURV. Any final thoughts on the CNN interview? I want to ask you about the Attorney General, the story that you guys just put out about the largest fentanyl seizure.
Well, I mean, that's something moving on to the fentanyl seizure. I mean, that's something that, it is the Sinaloa cartel. I mean, they've been present in every part of America. I mean, they reach everywhere. I mean, this, Van Bundy said yesterday, we took down all these guys from the Sinaloa cartel and we seized millions and millions of fentanyl pills. This group was based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, not far from the border. But they had reached all the way into Oregon, Utah, Nevada. I mean, they had a massive distribution line, and pretty much they focused primarily on fentanyl. So, this is one of those where the fentanyl, I mean, they cross it mainly through the ports of entry. So they're being sneaky about that. And, it's very easy to conceal. I mean, they were talking about, we have, 1 million pills. Well, that's about half a pound of weight. So they're easy to conceal. I mean, and they're so deadly, and it's cheap to produce. That's the danger of fentanyl. That Sinaloa cartel, they've been able to mass produce this. They just get the raw materials. They have their own labs, and they're so good at producing all this that it costs them almost nothing to produce this monster of a drug. And they can seize and seize and seize, but it won't make a difference.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, we got to go. Sorry.
Joe's giving me the sign.
Another time.
We do have to go. I apologize, Davis. I know.
Stay safe.
Pancho, thanks a lot. Yeah, stay safe. And we'll talk to you again very, very soon. Ildefonso Poncho Ortiz at Breitbart, Texas, joining us on News Talk 710 KURV.
Thank you, Raymondville, and thank you, Rio Grande Valley, for listening today to News Talk 710 KURV, the Valley's official home for Fox News Radio.
It's almost 5 o'clock here in the Rio Grande Valley. The cliche is it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but it's 5 o'clock here. Now, I don't know if that's too early for me to eat. Plus, I work until 6. But some of you are headed out to have an early dinner, or you're making plans, or you're thinking about making plans, well, plan on going to one of the Samora's restaurants, Mexican food restaurants in McAllen and Edinburgh. Plan on going there because you're going to have a great meal. You don't have to do anything but pay for it. Sit down, eat it, and pay for it. And there's specials for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Easy to get to, west of Edinburgh on Monte Cristo, or in McAllen on North 23rd, or over by DHR. And as I told you, the menu's huge. The hardest thing is going to be not going there, and paying for it is not going to be hard, but figuring out what you want. Because you think you know what you want when you get there, and then you get the menu and go, I don't know now. Just a little bit from the seafood menu, because I had the fish platter the other day for lunch, and it was fabulous. Fajita and shrimp, mar y tierra, ribeye and shrimp, pardon me. Fish platter, fried, grilled, al mojo de ajo or veracruzano, ranchero, or a la diabla. Ay, shrimp plate, fish and shrimp plate, seafood platter times 2, sombrero de camarón, cocktail de camarón. And that's not all. That's about half of it. So you got some work ahead of you to decide what it is you want to eat, because you know you already want a nice meal, full tummy for the evening ahead. That's Samora's restaurants in McAllen and Edinburgh.
For many years now, you know, I've been very proud to represent a dear friend of mine, Dale Johnson, top commercial roofer in the region. The Rio Grande Valley, so many different businesses trusting my friend Dale Johnson for all this commercial roofing work. I want you to know that Dale has trusted Chamberlain Roofing and Waterproofing. So now you got the next level for all these roofing projects at all these different properties that you have. And it all starts with one phone call. DLJ Commercial Roofing is now part of Chamberlain Roofing and Waterproofing. For years, you have trusted Dale. And now by locking arms with Chamberlain Roofing and Waterproofing, you're looking at 125 plus years of experience and a huge menu of expanded service offerings, valued warranties, cutting edge roof installations, and advanced waterproofing solutions. Call Chamberlain Roofing and Waterproofing for that initial conversation. 956-566-6822. 956-566-6822.
Our call letters, KURV. Our frequency, 710 AM. Our specialty, news and talk. News Talk 710 KURV and KURV.com.
Zach Cantu, Davey Do, and you, your 956 drive home on News Talk 710 KURV. We invite you to join us tomorrow. We'll get a visit from Dave Barnes, certified financial planner with Ameriprise Financial Money 101. I tell Dave, you know, during the time of other presidents when the stock market was not in the headlines as often as it is during this particular presidency, I'm sure financial planners came at it from a very different perspective than right now. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you'd be surprised. Actually, no, not really, because if you do the whole diversifying your portfolio, I mean, you weather a lot of storms, no matter whether it's up or down right now. So we'll talk with Dave Barnes tomorrow about that. And Dr. Rachel Gelman will stop by and share her vision with us all. Back to the national headlines, the audio soundboard. NPR not happy that President Trump stripping their funding. Okay, let's be honest for a second, though. I think everybody is upset. If they would be upset if they were told that their funding was getting cut. But our fighting Texas Wolverine, Senator Ted Cruz, says this is the right move.
The Communications Act requires public media entities like NPR to strictly adhere to, quote, objectivity and balance in all programs. Unfortunately, NPR does not.
PBS used tax dollars. The Texas Republican joked in a hearing this week that the tax dollars were used to produce a documentary called Racist Trees. The CEOs of NPR and PBS said they're looking into options to challenge the Trump administration, which could include a lawsuit. Ted Cruz says NPR took millions in earmarked donations from left-wing mega donors.
After receiving those donations, NPR churned out content precisely mirroring its donors' agendas.
And that the public media is required to have objectivity and balance in their broadcast.
NPR CEO Catherine Maher continues to deny that NPR has a story selection problem, even when senior editors are resigning because the bias is so overwhelming.
I mean, weren't we talking about NPR the other day about how biased the slant is on the headlines sometimes, where they just go straight talking about, oh, look at how difficult and expensive this idea would be. And if it was like Joe Biden, oh, how great and amazing. Oh, yes, it might be challenging, but oh, yes, it's amazing, wonderful. You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV. We'll get an update on the voting for the Pope and a priest shortage, believe it or not. We'll talk about that in the next hour of the program.
Your Houston Astros play here.
Left field. Good one. It's out of here.
Catch the action all season long on News Talk 710 KURV.
Deep to right field, and you can kiss it goodbye.
Don't miss the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd. We'll bring you each weeknight and weekend game with pregame and postgame coverage and all the action in between. Powered by Dr. T's Primary Care for Men and Women, Mission Economic Development Corporation, and News Talk 710 KURV.
This is Joe Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the nation's largest family law firm, but we're more than just size. We're part of your community. With offices across the country, our attorneys and staff live and work right where you do. And because we're local, we know your courts, your laws, and your legal community. When divorce puts your future on the line, you need a firm that's both powerful and personal. Call Cordell & Cordell.
Offices in San Antonio, Austin, and St. Louis. Schedule an appointment with one of our firm's San Antonio area attorneys. Joseph Cordell, Principal Partner. CordellCordell.com.
Built to perform, backed by ASCO. Right now, get 0% APR financing for up to 72 months on new compact Hitachi excavators and wheel loaders with approved credit. Whether you're digging, lifting, or loading, Hitachi delivers the performance you need, and ASCO delivers a service you can count on. Need equipment? We're on it at ASCO Equipment. Visit ASCOEQ.com. Financing terms and conditions apply. See ASCO for details.
Hi, this is Red Stegall, Texas rancher and musician. I'm inviting you to saddle up for the Alamo Statewide Stampede. We're challenging Texas counties, big and small, to raise the most funds for the Alamo. Join by donating livestock proceeds or any dollar amount, which will go towards restoring the mission site and battlefield, a state-of-the-art museum, and more. You can prove your small town has the biggest Texas state pride and make the Alamo so much more than you remember. Donate today at thealamo.org.
History's unfolding, and you're listening to it on News Talk 710 KURV, Edinburgh, McAllen, Harlingen, Brownsville.
They will try again tomorrow. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The College of Cardinals could not come to an agreement on who will become the next pope after one round of voting. Black smoke spewed out of the chimney at the Sistine Chapel just before 9 p.m. Rome time.
Everyone here is waiting to see the decision that the Cardinals make. But other than that smoke, we have no idea what is happening inside the Sistine Chapel. There is such secrecy. Their phones have been taken away. They have checked it for electronic bugs. Even as the Cardinals now leave the Sistine Chapel, they won't interact with anybody. When they are served their meals, the food will be laid out before they enter the room. So they are totally cut off from the world. They won't know about any major breaking news that happens. We do know that once they've left the Sistine Chapel, they will be able to talk amongst themselves. And this is when we think that some of the lobbying might go on, or the discussions. Now they have an idea of who had votes, who had the most votes.
Fox's Benjamin Hall in Vatican City. As many as 250,000 people were gathered in St. Peter's Square while the Cardinals met. The Federal Reserve leaving a key rate unchanged.
The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
Chair Jerome Powell, President Trump has been critical of Powell for not lowering interest rates and at one point called for his removal. Powell said tariffs have dampened consumer and business sentiment, but have yet to noticeably harm the economy, saying there's too much uncertainty to determine how the Fed should react. Stocks ended a choppy day higher after the news from the Fed. The Dow adds 284, the Nasdaq up 48, the S&P plus 24. A federal judge has found the Trump administration cannot deport migrants to Libya unless they have a meaningful chance to challenge their removal in court. The Boston-based judge saying doing so would clearly violate a previous court order he issued to ensure due process. America's listening to Fox News.
Not everyone who handles your personal information is as careful as you are, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the United States. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock will monitor hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. And if your identity's stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com. LifeLock. For the threats you can't control, terms apply.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, plus free home delivery. Limited time. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
President Trump has tapped Casey Means, a wellness influencer with close ties to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as his nominee for Surgeon General after withdrawing his initial pick. The FBI and Department of Justice have announced the results of a nationwide sting to catch child sex predators.
Attorney General Pam Bondi was joined by FBI Director Kash Patel as she described Operation Restore Justice, a 5-day sting that involved 55 FBI field offices.
This historic, unprecedented nationwide operation led to the arrest of 205 child sex predators.
Patel warned would-be offenders that they would be given no sanctuary.
There is no place we will not come to hunt you down. There is no place we will not look for you. And there is no cage we will not put you in should you do harm to our children.
They say the identifying and tracking of those predators led not only to getting them off the streets, but also the rescue of 115 children. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
An Illinois man charged with attempted kidnapping, burglary, attempted assault, and other offenses after police say he walked into a school in Buffalo, New York, and tried to abduct a student. Shane Cronin's pled not guilty. He's being held without bail. If you have an Android device, it's time for an update.
Google is pushing a big update to its Android operating system for smartphones running either Android 13 or 14. It is a response to what Google admits has been a major attempt by hackers to exploit vulnerabilities in the mobile device software, something that could and would lead to malicious software code being executed on devices, compromising users' data privacy and giving bad actors remote access to the device. Phones running the newer Android 15 are not believed to be affected. The patches come with Android security fixes for this month.
Fox's Evan Brown. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Your 710 KURV AccuWeather forecast. Warm and humid this evening. Partly cloudy skies, followed by areas of low cloud, a low of 73 to 77. Winds from the north-northeast at 7 to 14 miles per hour. Sun and clouds for tomorrow with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, mainly later. It'll be humid tomorrow with a high of 87. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the low 72. Friday, sunny, pleasant, less humid. A nice end of the week, the high 84. I'm AccuWeather's Drew Shannon on the Valley's official weather station, 710 KURV.
Do you have the right financial advisor to help you navigate where you want to go? With life's twists and turns, having a trusted expert by your side can make all the difference. An Ameriprise advisor will take the time to truly understand what's important to you, crafting a personalized strategy tailored to your goals and needs. Whether you're preparing for the expected or the unexpected, they'll help you stay on track with regular reviews and digital tools designed to give you clarity and control. With an Ameriprise advisor, you can feel more confident, connected, and in charge of your financial future. Call Ameriprise Financial Advisor David Barnes today at 956-772-4200, 956-772-4200. His office is conveniently located at 3008 North McCall Road, Suite B in McAllen. Ameriprise Financial cannot guarantee future financial results. Not FDIC or NCUA insured. No financial institution guarantee. May lose value. Securities offered by Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC. Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
This is Michael Berry of the Michael Berry Show, inviting you to stay tuned and join me later this evening, starting at 6, right after the 956 Drive Home with Zach and Davis on News Talk 710 KURV and on the Radio Para Mi app.
From the KURV Broadcast Center, this is the 956 Drive Home.
All right, we're doing this. Put on your seatbelt, check your mirrors. Let's begin.
Buckle up and get ready to talk about today's headlines and topics important to you. Here's Zach Cantu and Davis Rankin.
Two of the greatest talk show hosts that were available at the time. These two guys were just sitting there. We said, hey, you guys busy? They said no. And we said, we'd like you to host a show. And they said, how much does it pay? We said, nothing. Absolutely nothing. You might get lunch, you might not. And they said, okay. They said, okay, that's fine. And here we are, Zach Cantu and the living legend Davis Rankin, your 956 Drive Home. In fact, I'm eating the second we get out of here, Davey.
Did you bring food with you?
No, I did not. You know me, Davey. I've been starving myself. 24-hour fasting, one meal a day. That's what I do. That's what I do. And that's why I get kind of hangry around you, so I apologize. Aside from the fact that you wear my nerves, but I'm also hangry at the same time.
Do I look like a potted meat product to you?
I can turn you into one. That's
Vienna
right.
sausage. I look like a Vienna sausage.
For crying out loud, that's all I can do. But on the program today, we're talking about the Pope, the whole process about voting, the conclave, right? We'll talk about that, plus the priest shortage. Have you heard about this, Davey? The Catholic Church has a shortage of priests.
Yep. And it hits us down
What
here.
does it take to make a priest, right? What does it take to become
lot
a
of
priest
work.
versus, say, a pastor, right? What's the difference between those two things? We'll talk about all that. We have a religious scholar that'll be joining us in just a little bit. Stick around, stay tuned. We'll get to SpaceX in the Rio Grande Valley up next on News Talk 710 KURV, your 956 Drive Home.
And now, important moments in news history.
Have you ever smoked?
I have. I did inhale.
What were you listening to when you was high?
Oh, yeah, definitely Snoop, Tupac.
Graduated from Howard University in 1986 and finished law school in 1989. Tupac's debut album came out in 1991, Snoop's in 1993.
This has been important moments in news history.
Zach Cantu, 710 KURV.
If you're looking for the perfect fitness equipment for your home or business, look no further. Hess Fitness Products has the largest selection of fitness equipment and accessories. From unique pieces you won't find at big box stores to expert consultations that'll ensure the right fit for you. Hess has it all. Enjoy white glove delivery, in-house service, and the best price guarantee. Come meet Edgar Santana and his team for personalized solutions and equipment with the best warranties in the industry. Remember, health is wealth. Visit HessFitness.com. That's HessFitness.com. Look better, feel better, do more.
Hey, is it just me, or are there way more ducks in the office than usual?
Hadn't noticed, but now that you mention it, this is quite a lot of ducks.
What are they doing here?
Oh, they heard Mighty Mike now offers duct cleaning.
Yeah, but that's not ducks, it's ducts.
Yeah, you want to tell them that? You'll have one serious quack attack on your hands.
What's your plan?
Embrace it. I call the one in the shower cap Sir Duckworth.
Yep, Mighty Mike now offers duct cleaning. Call 956-686-1353 for big savings on your next bill. You know we had to do it.
Look for us online at callmightymike.com.
Payne Commercial and Fleet has work solutions ready to maximize productivity and economy for your business. Payne Commercial and Fleet offers sales and lease options, custom options, specialized maintenance plans, plus on-site appraisals. Come see our selection of Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Volkswagen, and Mitsubishi vehicles, including cars, trucks, SUVs, and heavy-duty trucks, vans, and cab chassis. We have what you want at PayneAutoGroup.com.
Locate to get us regardless.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code RADIO and get an extra 5% off.
Broadcasting from the Valley's Commercial and Fleet Headquarters studio at PayneAutoGroup.com. You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV.
Happy Wednesday. That much closer. And we're already done with Wednesday. It's 5 o'clock on a Wednesday. Your 956 Drive Home on 710 KURV. I'm Zach Cantu along with the living legend Davis Rankin. Astros earlier today, they won. Where did I leave the Astros score? It was, the Brewers. Yes, against the Brewers. 9-1 the final earlier today. They take a break tomorrow. They didn't win the series, though, by the way, between the Astros and the Brewers. They actually just won that last one. Reds and the Astros on Friday after taking a break tomorrow. Astros, May 9th, Friday, 7:10 first pitch. Your home for Houston Astros baseball. News Talk 710 KURV. Made possible by Dr. T's Primary Care for Men and Women and Mission Economic Development Corporation. Davey Do, how often do you update the software on your cell phone? Just asking, because we had the Fox Top of the Hour report talking about an Android update.
They do it automatically, and I couldn't tell you when it happens.
But I mean, if you were to physically check and there was an update available, I'm sure your phone would tell you.
I would download it.
Yeah. I just spent the last 10 minutes getting the new Android update.
Which means it's been a while since you've updated.
Not really, because I'm usually on top of it. In fact, for the Samsung guys, if you own an S24 series, I think you're getting the new One UI 7, which is the new update for the Samsung universe, which is really neat, by the way. But anyway, that's besides the point. Let me talk about SpaceX here for a second. I was just wondering, since you're part of the iPhone universe, I've never touched that before. And they were talking about Android updates on Fox News Top of the Hour. They don't normally mention that.
Yeah, really.
But when they do talk about updating software updates for your phone, it's because they're security updates.
Okay. All right.
Security updates. We've talked about the 0 day before. Have you heard about the 0 day exploits?
No.
Well, they're called 0 day because nobody knows about them. It's like the 0th day that this exploit exists, and people don't know about exploits unless they're told about it, or whether they just discover them. So the problem is, if you're somebody who's trying to find exploits, you don't know about them unless you stumble upon them, in which case you're either a good guy or a bad guy. Are you going to use this exploit to get some stuff that you want, or are you going to report this to the people that run the software and be like, hey, I found something?
It's like a game.
Yes, exactly. It is very much so like a game. So I think this stuff is fascinating to me, this techie stuff. But anyway, let me head back to SpaceX. The FAA may allow SpaceX to increase the number of launches conducted in South Texas. A report released by the agency yesterday said an increase in launches and related activity on Boca Chica Beach will not have a significant environmental impact, interestingly enough. Though I'm sure somebody's still going to sue regardless. SpaceX wants to launch up to 25 missions a year from the Starbase in Cameron County. Agency said SpaceX still needs to meet other requirements before a license modification will be granted. The Texas Senate is going to consider a bill to make in-state tuition unavailable to students who are in the country illegally. The committee had advanced the bill on Tuesday by a 9-2 vote. The bill would eliminate illegal immigrant students' eligibility for in-state tuition. Previously, eligible students would be required to pay the difference between in-state and out-of-state tuition. Senator Mays Middleton, who authored the bill, says in-state tuition for illegal cost taxpayers $150 million this academic year. Remember when we were talking about this concept going into November, Davey? When people were kind of sick and tired that illegal immigrants were getting stuff that American citizens were not?
Yep.
That's what we were. This is an extension of that, I feel. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why somebody would be put out about it. I can't get it, but they can. They shouldn't even be here.
Right. Imagine you're the guy that gets part of the cutoff. Like you just missed it going in, and you find out that this other guy, who arguably has no business being here, gets it. They got money and I did not. To which I know some people are like, well, you're being selfish about it. Well, they're being selfish about it.
You can say that about any
because they wanted to shortcut the line, game the system. Go ahead.
Anything that comes to a citizen, you're being selfish because you guard what comes with being a citizen, and that's why people want to be citizens. But you apply from you live in Alaska and you apply to University of Texas, and you don't live here, you're not going to get in.
They're mad at Congressman Henry Cuellar, Davey, the Democrats. The Texas Democrat Party want to sanction U.S. Representative Henry Cuellar this month for failing to toe the party line. He had voted with Republicans this year in favor of election integrity, keeping biological men out of women's sports, and requiring the government to detain illegal immigrants arrested for minor crimes. Cuellar has also cast pro-life votes in the past, and that makes the Democrat Party angry. So a party sanction would withhold resources from Cuellar and his campaigns and bar him from attending party events.
Oh, I'm sure he's heartbroken.
Oh, I saw it on Gutfeld, and I don't have the cut here. This was perfect. It was Gavin Newsom on some podcast talking about what went wrong with the Democrat Party.
Really?
Yes.
I thought he.
Oh,
what I
man.
read a while back
Where
was this
is
pretty
it?
accurate diagnosis, but they're still not the Democratic Party. What I'm reading,
And
Democratic
even
Party's
then,
still
he's
not.
real wishy-washy about it, David, because if I can find it, I don't think I'm going to find it in time because we got to get going. But
He comes out of that.
he essentially, he's like, well, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, maybe it was this other thing. And it's still not owning up to any of it. You know, it's still not. I think this is it. Hold on. Bear with me here
It's
because I
hard
think
to-
this is interesting.
It's hard.
This is Gavin Newsom on BBC talking about what went wrong for Democrats.
popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed, and we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too quote unquote woke? Was it because
Was it because we were too quote unquote woke?
You're offering. When
They
you're
had a
offering
very
things-
large part of it. Yes.
When you're offering things that people don't want, whatever party you are, then you're not going to get their vote. You have to be where they are. That just makes sense? But as opposed to offering things they should want, and you want them to want, and you know they're better off if they do want that. But like my favorite is Latinx, which is an academic construction
Right.
to get around genderizing the Spanish language.
You see, and I don't know who came up with that, but they sure as hell didn't ask Latinos about that. That's for sure.
was-
Or Latinas. They didn't.
There
They
you
didn't,
go.
they didn't ask the Latinx people if they liked the term Latinx.
you
I think that was the
branded
biggest problem right there.
the issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand at the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
Sorry,
like
that's
that.
that was my fat finger on the mouse speeding it up to 2x
You
speed.
get through it a lot
my
faster.
apology.
So
Yes.
that's good.
So that was Gavin Newsom on the problems of the Democrat Party. Now, he doesn't admit that they were wrong about any of that. I think that's also very telling. He didn't admit. He's just postulating. He's like, well, what if it was this? I'm not saying that it was, but maybe these are things that I've heard. Kinda. You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV, your 956 drive home. Coming up next, we'll get an update on we'll go behind the process. We'll go into the conclave and find out what all the different smokes mean coming out of the Sistine Chapel, and talk about the Catholic priest shortage as well. You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV.
You're just minutes away from the bottom of the hour news. Stay tuned for the latest headlines. News Talk 710 KURV.
The City of McAllen is thrilled to offer your business an opportunity to apply for a matching grant of up to $15,000. The Refresh 50/50 grant was designed with your business in mind. Apply for the Refresh 50/50 grant to upgrade your storefront with improvements like new paint, signage, landscaping, art, lights, doors, and more. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity and apply today at www.refresh5050.com. The Refresh 50/50 grant is brought to you by the City of McAllen. Hablamos Español.
Spotlight on your health. Brought to you by DHR Health.
From the DHR Health Heart Institute, board certified, fellowship trained, cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Victor Reese.
It's a pleasure to be at DHR Health. It's a pleasure to be back in the Valley. I grew up in Brownsville, Texas. My dad, he was a primary practice physician in Brownsville for over 30 years. And it was always interesting running into my dad's patients in the community. They would stop me and say, hey, we love your dad. He helped save my loved one's life, the impact that my father had on his community. And I certainly wanted to be able to impact the community in a similar fashion. Ultimately, I chose to pursue a fellowship in cardiothoracic surgery. So a cardiothoracic surgery fellowship teaches you about the surgical treatment of disease in both the heart, the lung, and an area in the middle of the chest. You learn to do complex operations on the heart, replace heart valves, and even replace major parts of the arteries of the body. In addition, you also do thoracic surgery, and that involves removing tumors in the middle of the chest, lung cancers, esophageal cancer as well. I have an outpatient office. I see patients on a weekly basis. One thing that I learned in medical school is that you have a finite amount of time to interact with patients. However, in cardiothoracic surgery, we're a very low volume specialty, which means I have very few patients and I get to spend a lot of time with them. DHR is a wonderful health system. I was very impressed when I interviewed here. I find that they spend a lot of time listening to the physicians, listening to our needs, and they're constantly trying to push the envelope in terms of providing cutting-edge care for the patients here in the Valley.
From the DHR Health Heart Institute, board-certified, fellowship-trained, cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Victor Reese, DHR Health.
This has been Spotlight on Your Health, brought to you by DHR Health. For you, for life.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic, available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
710 KURV, streaming live at KURV.com. Powered by Texas Mutual Workers Compensation Insurance, a policyholder-owned company. Work safe, Texas.
522 on News Talk 710 KURV, your 956 drive home with Zach Cantu and the living legend Davis Rankin. Astros earlier today beat the Brewers 9-1. They didn't win the series, but they won that one game. Onwards to the Reds on Friday, and that's happening at 710 on 710 KURV, your home for Houston Astros baseball, made possible by Dr. T's Primary Care for Men and Women and Mission Economic Development Corporation. What's happening with the Pope? How are they voting? Are they going up or down? What's the whole process like? What are they looking for? What kind of qualifications are they looking for? What kind of character traits, etc.? Joining us on 710 KURV, we welcome back to the program Professor Matthew Schmalz, who is a professor of religious studies with the College of the Holy Cross in Massachusetts, and he joins us now. So what are they looking for right now? They had one vote already, and the black smoke came out, which means that they're not decided yet.
Right. The black smoke came out late, which had everyone wondering. I think the primary thing they're looking for is someone who at least has Pope Francis's style, that is people-friendly, open, welcoming, and so forth. And where they're having the real debate is probably over doctrinal issues, whether they want someone to continue Pope Francis's reforms, or whether they want to take a pause, or whether they want someone to push back on those reforms. And that's where, a lot of the decision making will take place.
Can we talk about those for a second? What do you mean by reforms?
Well, he opened up the church in a variety of ways. Made it more welcoming. I mean, he invited homeless people in actually to the Vatican. And this is a difficult question because people will debate whether or not he actually changed Catholic doctrine. But he was much more interested in forgiveness and mercy than he was in judging sinners. And so he really emphasized that the church is for everyone, and not just perfect people or people who pretend to be perfect. Also, too, he initiated reforms in leadership in the Vatican, inviting more women into governance positions, and also reforming the Vatican finances. And so this ruffled feathers in the Vatican among Vatican bureaucrats and so forth. So he sort of moved on a couple levels. One, opening the church, not only physically but symbolically, but also trying to, rein in some of the bureaucrats of the Vatican who he thought had lost touch.
Joining us on 710 KURV is Professor Matthew Schmalz, who is a professor of religious studies with the College of the Holy Cross in Massachusetts, and we're talking about the selection of the Pope. So when they're going back and forth, discussing is the word I'll use, about because they don't argue, right? That's they're very polite with each other, I'm sure.
Right, they're very polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, do they want somebody that's closer to Pope Francis versus, do they have conversations about, well, what if we want another Benedict or another John Paul II or anything like that? Did they do that?
Yeah, I would think so. Maybe not. I mean, I think many of them have had those conversations already. Before the conclave started today, there were a series of meetings called general congregations where the cardinals all got together, talked about issues in the church and so forth. So I think under the radar during those kinds of meetings those kinds of questions that you asked, whether they want someone like Benedict or someone like John Paul II or another Francis, those are kind of questions that people would ask or talk about on sidebars and stuff as cardinals coalesce around a particular candidate.
Let's talk about the status of the Catholic Church right now. Last time that we spoke, I had mentioned that my future brother-in-law is studying to be a priest, and there's a big priest shortage right now. And
there is a big priest shortage. Yep.
Yeah. So what's the status of the Catholic Church right now? Why is it so difficult to recruit people for the priesthood?
Well, I think that I think for a variety of reasons. I mean, number one, we live in a very, much more secular culture than we did, say, 50 years ago. And so, the idea of becoming, say, a full-time religious person is not necessarily the first thing that comes to people's minds. Secondly, especially after the sexual abuse crisis, but even before that, priests don't have the same kind of respect that they used to. And so if you're deciding to be a priest, because there's a priest shortage, because, of various perceptions of priests, you got a really tough job. So your brother-in-law is really going to work hard, that's for sure, because, you have to multitask in all sorts of different ways. But I would put it down to, United States culture becoming more secular. And so the idea of becoming a priest is not necessarily something except very religious people would consider. But it's a complex question.
What I hear people say about, just Christianity in general, not just the Catholic Church, but all the denominations, the biggest critique I hear is that it's full of a lot of people that don't practice what they preach. That is the biggest one, and that's across the board.
Let's leave our guest out of this, okay?
How does the church move away from that kind of a stigma?
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, I think in some ways Pope Francis did get the message that all of us who are Christians, whether we're Catholic or not, really have to think very carefully about what kind of values we're expressing through our actions. And look, all of us, are hypocrites in one way or another. And, but I think particularly in Christianity, you have, at least in my opinion, you have a philosophy that's based upon love and so forth. But sometimes Christians of all denominations don't seem that loving. So it's a tough question. And, whenever you institutionalize something, whether it's Catholicism or another Christian denomination, other concerns come into play, like how do you balance the budget, things like that. And so people can get very distracted from their true mission.
Interestingly enough, I had this discussion with my future brother-in-law, who we will refer to as Brother Mark. And it's very fascinating that the classes that it's like college level stuff that these priests are going through in order to learn everything they need to learn to be a priest. What's the difference between studying to be a priest and becoming a pastor? Because it seems like anybody can pick up a book. I'm not saying this to be flippant.
He wants you to dump all over the.
I'm not trying to be flippant about it when I say this, but it feels like anybody can just pick up a book and start a church.
Leave the Presbyterians out of this. Okay, so.
Yeah. I remember I did work in the when I was much younger in the Arklatex area in McCurtain County in Oklahoma.
Oh gosh.
And a lot of street side pastors there and so forth. Well, I think the difference I would say, and I'm not saying, and I'm certainly not saying that, Catholic priests are better than pastors of other denominations, is that the Catholic Church is heavily institutionalized. And so, there is a process, a centuries-old defined process that you have to go through in order to be a priest. And religiously and doctrinally, it's complex. And so they do need a lot of training. And you have to be really dedicated. You have to be really, really dedicated because a lot of people get weeded out in the process. So I think in some ways what you're talking about, the differences that you're talking about, really have to do with, the Catholic Church is this worldwide institution. And so it has these very defined ways of training people.
Like, for example, a priest can be recognized by the Vatican, but
nobody can just jump up and
some
say,
of these
I'm
other
a priest in the
denominations,
Catholic
is there like a
Church.
larger entity that recognizes some other pastors that just decide, hey,
No.
I want to talk to people about it?
Yeah, it depends, on the denomination. Like, I certainly can't, I'm married and have kids and stuff like that. I can't just sort of say, hey, I want to be a priest now. I'm not eligible anymore. But different denominations, depending upon how institutionalized they are, have different standards. And one of the things actually that I liked, about living down south was the fact that, I found religion a lot more free flowing, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that you can have people, claim they're pastors and have a following and so forth, and, preach and so on. It's just a different way of doing things. So I'm not here to, necessarily say anything that Catholic priests are better or better trained. It's just different,
Yeah, and I don't mean to put you on the spot making that claim either way.
Come on.
Professor Matthew Schmalz is a professor of religious studies with the College of the Holy Cross in Massachusetts. Davis Rankin, your question. Go ahead. I'm sorry for hogging the guest. Go ahead.
From the time well, no, he has a personal interest. From the time somebody says, I want to be a priest, how long does it take to be, and I don't even know how to phrase this, before they get
ordained?
Yeah.
So when you become a priest, you're ordained.
It takes a while,
usually
right?
it takes many years, actually, because you also have to go through an intermediate stage where you're a deacon. So you study in what's called a seminary, which is sort of like a Catholic college. Then you're ordained as a deacon. Then several years later, you become a priest. So it takes, sometimes in certain religious orders, which are special kinds of priests, it can take much as 12 years.
Whoa.
To get ordained, especially if you're supposed to have educational credentials like having a PhD or something like that. But it normally takes, at least 4 or 5 years to go through the process. And, understandably, it's tough. It requires a lot of sacrifice. So people drop out. So sounds like Brother Mark's doing real well. I mean, that
I admit the oath of
really
poverty.
Serious commitment.
The oath of poverty is a pretty big deterrent to some people.
I thought they all had to take an oath of, they had to be poor, but I ran into it. But I'm told no, not every priest.
Because what was it? It was an oath of poverty, an oath of chastity, and there were some other ones.
So
obedience.
Do all priests that we see have to be poor?
Well, priests all priests have to swear to obedience and chastity, which means, not being married and not being, sexually active and stuff like that. For particular religious orders, they add poverty oftentimes. Like I knew a priest I was very close to, and he was a really good priest, but he drove around in a BMW. So obviously the vow of poverty wasn't something that he took.
It was a donation. It was a donation. You can't turn away a donation.
Well, that's right. It was a donation.
He was supporting German Catholics. I mean, that's what he was doing. So.
Yeah, that's right.
There was some Catholics working at the BMW factory. We just don't know who they are. One other question: among Jews, Catholics, and Protestants, do you know which denominations require more preparation? Because anybody can jump up and get a Bible and say, I got God in my heart, and start preaching and have a church, I think. But
in some Protestant denominations, not all.
No.
But to train to be traditional rabbi in Judaism takes many years too, because there's a lot of textual study and so forth.
Yeah.
So usually, and I'm kind of talking off the top of my head here, but the older the tradition is institutionally, the more you have to go through. in order to be a full-fledged religious leader, let's say.
You've been so kind to us with your time here today. I want to give you a little bit of time. If you have anything that you'd like to plug,
this is the altar
anything
call.
that you'd like to promote, this is our donation.
Not to plug. It's just I don't know how far you are from the Arklatex area.
Long way, 500 miles.
500 miles. Okay, well, you probably have the bandwidth where you're, carry around that way. But I have lived down south, let me just say, and, I'm a Northeasterner and so forth, and there are a lot of divisions in this country, but I really love living down south, and people were so kind to me and welcoming and accepting, even though I was Catholic, and being Catholic was kind of weird. So if anything I want to plug is that we're all Americans and we all share a lot.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Professor.
you.
Appreciate your time here today. Thanks for
Okay.
putting up with us, exercising great patience with us.
You guys are great. You ask good questions. You keep me on my toes.
Thank you very much,
Thanks so much.
Professor Matthew Schmalz, the Professor of Religious Studies with the College of the Holy Cross in Massachusetts, joining us on News Talk 710 KURV.
This is the Valley Station for Fox News Radio. News Talk 710 KURV.
At Rivetta's